everyone, it's Jessica. I'm back with another layout for Therm Web Design Team. Today I'm going to show you how I created this fun layout using some Vicki Boutin products, some Deco foils, some adhesives, and all the fun and gorgeous things. So I have pulled out a mixed media paper by Vicki Boutin to start with. I loved little circles, so that really sparked my creativity. So I've already cut down 3 of my photos using some dies from my stash into some circle shapes, and then I cut a tag shape with a little topper on it, and I am just backing that behind my photo here that I'm going to put on the bottom of me and my son. These are some photos from one of the days that I took him to work with me, and I had taken some pictures of him that day as he was enjoying his day, and I'm just pulling out a whole bunch of things by Vicki Boutin to actually place around my photo at the bottom here. I want the bottom one to be kind of a focal point for my layout, so I'm going to layer this up a lot with all of these fun little die cuts and little shapes and things, and then I'm going to actually pop my title down on the bottom section here. So my title is going to be pretty big, and I want it to stand out along with this photo, so I'm going to make sure I put lots of layers in behind here. But all of these little circles in this paper really made me want to add some foil designs into them. So instead of doing stamping like I might normally do, I'm actually going to do some stenciling with some of the Deco foil duo gel, and then I'm going to add some really pretty Deco foil in some gold, and then I'm going to add some bronze to one of my Brutus Monroe card fronts as well. So I'm just continuing to back this around my photo here. I'm going to place all these little layers down. I'm kind of tucking things in and around my photo just to bring your eyes down to that. And I love that little binder clip, so I'm going to go ahead and tuck that there. And I'm just going to go ahead and stick all of these layers down because I'm kind of building this just this little section at a time on my layout. So I'm going to pull this off and do that foiling, but I just kind of wanted to build this first just to get an idea of where I need to place all of my foil designs on my little circles. So that's why I'm focusing on this little section here first, and I know what I'm going to cover up with all of my layers. So I'm just using my tape runner to adhere all of these layers together, and I matted my photo with some easy tear tape, and I am just going to see where I want my foil pieces to go. I'm going to move this aside for now. I've pulled out a stencil by the Crafters Workshop along with my duo gel and just a regular spatula here, nothing fancy. I'm not going to use my stencil pal today. If this were a large stencil, I would pull that stencil pal out and use it because it creates a really smooth texture, but this one is just such small areas on these circles, I'm not even going to bother pulling it out. So I am just using this. This stencil has kind of a circular design to all of these little stencils on here, so I am just putting this down, and I'm not using pixie tape or anything to hold it down today because it's just so quick and such a small area again. So I'm just placing it down where I want it to go and just smoothing on some of that duo gel. This one I did mess up. Whenever I went to lift it up, I kind of scraped the whole thing off, so I did it twice, so hopefully that comes out okay. But it does take a little while to dry, so I set it aside to dry, and it takes a good like 40 to 45 minutes in my climate. I'm from Pennsylvania in the States, so it does take about 40 minutes for it to dry. Recommended is 45 minutes depending on your climate. So it does take a while to dry, but that one does dry clear, whereas the Blanco gel dries white. So this one is nice for dark designs or anything like that. And I'm going to use that and just waiting for that to dry. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I've smoothed on some Distress Oxide colors, and I have smoothed that on with a blending brush, kind of an ombre effect on this cute little numbers Brutus Monroe toner card front. And then I'm just sandwiching it in between a craft and carrier sheet with some bronze Deco foil, and I'm going to run that through my hot laminating machine. So I pulled out a couple sheets and they actually got kind of goofy, so I'm showing you how I tuck them back in. That's kind of the trick, is to roll them up really tight, pull them all out, roll them up really tight, and then you can shove them back into the tube very easily and they kind of fluff back out in there. So while that's running through, there it comes out. It's so gorgeous and sparkly. While that was running through, this was set aside to dry, and it has now dried. I've walked away actually to go get my boys some supper, and while that was drying, then my toner card front came out and it was all beautiful. And then I'm running that one through, same effect. I'm just putting it between that craft and carrier sheet. While that's running through here, I'm going to go ahead and die cut some circles out of the toner card front and use on my layout as well. You can see this has now come out of my hot laminator, so I've just peeled those sheets off of there, and that's what I'm left with, all of that foiled goodness. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these down, but I'm actually going to do some edge distressing on all of those circles to rough them up a bit, and then I'll pop them up with some of the 3D foam tape as well. So I'll just go through here and distress all of these edges, and I'll speed this up for you so you don't have to watch all of them. They're all now distressed. I'm going to go ahead and start sticking down my photos with some of the easy tear tape. You guys have watched my videos before. You know that I prefer the, I think it's the 1/2 inch size is what I like. It seems to work best for what I use it for. I do use a smaller size occasionally too, but I do like that 1/2 inch size best. And then I like the jumbo tape roll. This is the 1/8 inch size, so I've used that to pop up my little numbered Brutus and Monroe toner card fronts that I've done that ombre effect on. And I did wipe that off with a paper towel after I put the ink on there, just so that it had a nice smooth transfer with the foil. So I'm going to go to work on my title now. I've actually left this sit for a bit and did some other things and kind of came back to it. So the lighting looks a little bit different. I think I actually forgot to turn on my overhead light as well. So you'll see that come on here in a second. But I'm going to work on this title. It's going to just say, "Take Your Kid to Work Day." So I'm using some Bella Boulevard Florence Alphas for the black letters here. And then I'm going to pull out these other letters that are from my stash. I can't remember exactly what they're from. They're Thickers brand, but I think I might have gotten them in a Hip Kit club at one time, but I can't remember. So I've had them in my stash for a while. They've actually lost their stickiness. So I'm going to use some of the Ultra Bond liquid glue here in a second and actually go through and adhere those down to my layout. That way I know that they're not going to go anywhere. So I am finishing up just putting these other little bits down here on my layouts. I'm kind of staggering my photos in those circles so that you can see that outline underneath of them. So yeah, I can still bring out that pretty texture in the paper itself. So just finishing popping those down. All of my little numbers are popped up with that 3D foam tape. I really like this little splatter here, so I'm going to pop that there, and I'm actually going to grab another one. And those are vellum, so they actually have a backing piece on them that you peel off and then attach. So they just stick right to your layout, and they're kind of clear. So I am just, geez, I thought I was done with these. I thought I was done sticking all of these down, but I guess not. I still have a few to go, so sorry guys. But yeah, I'm just finishing all of these. I think I saw a little fly go by on my frame just a second ago. But yeah, my kids like to leave the door open in my craft room a lot, so sometimes flies come in, but eventually they work themselves back out. It's summer still, so I'm sure they're going to be heading out soon as we approach winter. But here, I'm just going to go ahead and stick my main photo down here with some of the Easy Tear tape. So that's exactly where I want it to be. I know it's not going to go anywhere, and I want it to be right there next to my title. And then I'm just going to thread through some baker's twine through this little tag, and I'm going to attach those little extra tails there with my Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher stapler. And then there's my little splatters coming back in. I'm just having a play with where I want that one to go, and I decide I want it up there because it looks super cute up there. So I've just peeled that backing off and just stuck those down. They're pretty sticky, so I don't feel like I need to reinforce them or anything. And then I still have a ton of these little die cuts and things in this pack. It's huge. I think I actually ordered that collection a couple times by accident, so I have a lot left. Just using a date stamp here. I can't remember what this one's from. It's not Project Life, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll look and see who makes that one, and I'll link it below for you guys, or I'll list it below for you. And then here I'm just grabbing some Flair epoxy Flair from Scrappin Happy Studio. I'm gonna put a couple of those onto my layout, and then I'm having a little play with some stickers from this little sticker sheet. And I wanted to put something inside that top middle circle, but I wasn't quite sure what. And I'm just looking through my little die cuts. That would have been perfect there, but I felt that it was a little bit too colorful for this layout. I kind of stuck with greens, blues, and yellows. Well, not so much greens, but mostly blues and yellows, which is my typical color scheme. So I've kind of stuck with that, and I want to stick with that. I thought that other little die cut was a little too much color for this layout, so I end up pulling this flower and that off as well and using something else too that I have sitting here beside me. It's like a little layered banner, one of these. So I'm going to pull this out, and it just goes perfectly inside that little circle. And it just works so wonderful on this layout. It just kind of sums up our day. So I'm going to just pop that down here with some of the easy tear tape just to reinforce that so it sticks really well. And I'm just going to pop that down in that middle circle, so that one's finished up. And then I'm just going to take out some of my glue dots. These are the medium size, and I like to put kind of like a glue dot sandwich on these epoxy flare buttons. So I put one glue dot on the back, then I put my thread, and then I put another glue dot, or sometimes two, to actually stick them down to my layout. And then I've just pulled out some of that Ultra Bond liquid glue to glue on down my tails of my thread so that it goes exactly where I want it to go. I usually don't glue them down. I kind of just leave them loose most of the time, but for this layout, I really liked exactly where they were going, so I wanted to make sure that they stayed there. And that glue does dry nice and clear, so you can't really tell that it's there once it's dry. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick that one down. It's just a fun little heart in a yellow shade, which I love. Again, just gluing down that little tail. I've already got my date stamp. This is actually from October back in 2019. So my my oldest here was so little. He was only about a year old, and he just looks so small. But he's 5 now, and he's in kindergarten, as you probably know because you saw my last layout, I'm sure, but which was a school themed layout of him. But yeah, he's just gotten so big. I can't believe how fast he's growing. And here I just decided to add a little bit of washi tape and a couple of stamps by Elle Studio to look like some stitching on the bottom of the layout. And just stamping some little X's here that look like stitches, and then I'm going to add the little stamps that look like the thread tails on the bottom and the top too. I usually don't use those, but I thought for this layout it just looks so cute, so I decided to just stamp those on there. So here's the finished layout. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I'll link everything in the description below if you want to grab anything from the shop. And if you have any questions, as usual, just let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. So thank you guys so much for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.